This video was sponsored by Simple Truth and Kroger, and I'm going to show you how you can make a terrific pizza and a one-pan baked pasta dish with no animal products in either of them. We're using Kroger's Simple Truth line of groceries. I shop at Kroger. I've cooked with these products for years, and Kroger's expanded the line to include tons of high-quality plant-based options, including these non-dairy mozzarella shreds. Here's some normal, low-moisture cow's milk mozzarella. If you're thinking about dumping that for this, the key with any new relationship is to reset your expectations. To expect the new to behave exactly like the old is not fair to anyone involved. If this happens to you, it's really your fault, not the products. These non-dairy shreds absolutely do melt and they absolutely do brown. They just need a little more time. So all that means in practical terms is I'm going to position my pizza steel in the middle or maybe even the bottom of my oven, and I'm going to crank the heat to maximum like I always do, but instead of preheating my steel for an hour, I'm just going to give it like 20 minutes. By the way, if you ever get your baking surface too hot, you can always cool it down a little bit with a wet towel. Just move it around with tongs. Steam is hot. If you have a pizza stone, you might be worried about thermal shock doing this, but I mean, what is the towel going to do that a raw pizza on top wouldn't do? Anyway, here's my dough made with Simple Truth organic flour and olive oil, water, salt, yeast. It's my normal recipe in the description. I'll stretch it out onto a peel that has been dusted with both flour and cornmeal. I increasingly find that combination is the most powerfully non-stick with pizza. This is some Simple Truth organic pizza sauce. It's a real nice sauce, and then our non-dairy shreds. On a less hot baking surface, we're going to be able to cook this pizza slower and give these time to melt and brown before the crust burns. That said, the appearance these take on when they melt isn't quite the same as a dairy cheese, and if that might be a hang-up, consider topping the pizza just to give it another point of visual interest. I've got this Simple Truth meatless chorizo. One sausage should be enough, and if you cut it diagonally, you'll get prettier slices. On those go, and in that goes. Again, just preheating the steel for less time means we can bake this a little slower and give those shreds the time they need. Once they melt like that and your crust is looking almost done, you might consider flipping on your broiler, the heating element at the top, just to get a little more color on that pizza, but watch it really carefully. Anything can burn in a flash under the broiler. Let's drop a little parsley leaf in between each of those sausage pieces, slice that up, and I really like the taste of that meatless chorizo on there. It's a great pizza topping. And speaking of meatless proteins, this emerged chicken grind is going to be the basis of our little pasta bake. This stuff browns up great like meat, but I would really recommend doing it in a non-stick pan or a well-seasoned cast iron like I've got here, and start it in plenty of olive oil. Get yourself a stout wooden spoon and stir and scrape aggressively as you brown these over like medium-high heat. As this cooks, there will come a moment when it seems like nothing is browning, that it's all just sticking to the bottom of the pan. You got to push through that. Just stir and scrape, and in a couple of minutes, everything will change. It'll stop sticking and everything will start browning up really, really well. When it does, I'm going to drop in a pound of dried pasta straight in there. I'm using this gluten-free fusilli, but you could absolutely do this same technique with a wheat-based pasta. I'm just going to pour in a little water, enough to come up maybe halfway, and then I'll stir that around for a minute. This is really all the pre-cooking that a thin pasta shape needs before it bakes. In with a whole bottle of Simple Truth marinara. If it seems like too much sauce, that's good. Remember, the pasta is going to swell up and suck in some of the water out of the sauce. Oh, and yes, there can be problems when you cook acidic ingredients in cast iron, but this just isn't going to cook long enough in there to be a problem, I don't think. 2/3 of the bag of those non-dairy shreds will melt and kind of bind the whole dish together. Then I've got this non-dairy Alfredo sauce, and I'm going to deposit the whole bottle in dollops. I do not want to stir it in. I want pockets of sauce. This tastes amazingly cheesy despite not having any cheese in it. I think thanks to the lactic acid content, you can get that by fermenting all kinds of things, not just dairy. Rest of the bag of shreds goes on top, and then some breadcrumbs, panko ideally. These will brown in the oven and really give you the toasted effect that you might be missing from a dairy cheese. I've got some foil in my oven to catch anything that boils over. I'm doing this in a 10-inch skillet, which is obviously a little too small for the job. A 12-incher would be safer. And my oven was already hot, but I'm going to immediately turn on the broiler. Really, all we need to do is brown the top, like 8 minutes under a moderate broiler, and that's that. Is the pasta inside done? Maybe not, but it will be by the time we let that rest. A key with any baked pasta dish is to let it cool for like a half hour before you scoop it out. It needs that time to solidify. A little parsley right before we scoop, waiting until the end just keeps it green. And if there's one thing I don't like about pasta bakes, it is their homogeneity. But by putting that non-dairy Alfredo down in dollops, we get regional variation within this dish. Makes it way more interesting to eat, I think. You could not make an easier family meal, and there's not a lick of animal product or gluten in it. Thanks again to Kroger for their sponsorship of the channel. They make eating plant-based foods way more accessible, affordable, and good. Order a pickup from your local Kroger family store today.